What's up, everybody? Welcome into this Sunday championship edition of Pushing the Pile. Mike Renner, JP Acosta. JP, it felt like we watched two different sports today. Like what we just saw in the NFC Championship was not the same game as what we saw in the AFC Championship.
It felt like two different eras of the sport. With Pat's Broncos, it felt like a real, the old NFL films, the old vintage games you'd see on NFL Network that they'll play in the off season when there's nothing going on. It felt like watching that, and compared to Rams Seahawks, which just felt like an explosion of just huge moments in every single point in the game.
Yeah, and as much as obviously the weather affected that first game, I saw Trevor Sikkema tweeted during the game, this game is a Super Bowl, then it's a championship game. This is what it felt like. This game just had much more players making plays, right? Like the first game was kind of just, like you said, it felt like old school team football. We're going to, we move the ball a little bit, punt it back. It's just field position sort of battle. This was like our guys can go out in this Seahawks-Rams game. And it's just which team is going to have the playmaker make the play when it matters most. And for the Seattle Seahawks, they get the win. What's the big number from this one?
The big number for this game is 346. That's how many passing yards Sam Darnold had in this game. It is the most of his season as a Seahawk. It's more than any of the games he had against the Rams in the regular season. He also had a .46 EPA per dropback in this game, which is, or 0.45. It's his fourth highest total of his season, and also much, much higher than both of the times they played in the regular season. This game really sort of just felt like, when it came down to it, the biggest question was, can Sam Darnold make the plays when he's asked to? And for the most part, he really did. I thought Clint Kubiak had an answer and was one step ahead on every single explosive play, every single big play, and every single time Chris Shula tried to throw a haymaker, it felt like Clint Kubiak had the counter to it. So the biggest example of that is the quick change after the muff punt and the touchdown to Jake Bobo. They run that corner post. But what happens on the corner post is the Rams bring Emmanuel Forbes from the short side of the field on a corner blitz, and they try and roll into cover two with the backside corner playing the deep half. And that's great and all, but when you have a corner post, you have to acknowledge that corner before you acknowledge the post, because you have no help to that side if you're the backside corner. So I thought that was a really cool play. The big JSN catch down the middle of the field. It was a really nice way of tying down the middle of the field linebacker in Tampa too. But it just felt like every single time they needed a big play from Sam Darnold and Clint Kubiak, it felt like they got it, and they knew exactly where to attack, which is these Rams defensive backs.
Yeah, I think it's the area we pointed to all season long. We're like, hey, this Rams team has a obvious weakness. We saw it literally from the first drive when Rashid Shaheed just walks past Darius Williams on a go ball, that their corners could not hang. You had to scheme around the fact that no corner could even come close to sniffing Jack Smith-Njigba in this game. And so the kind of thing we said, hey, this is your Achilles heel, this could do you in. Well, I think it ultimately is what did the Rams in here.
Yeah, and it felt like it from, like you said, that big play against Darius Williams, whether it was he, Roger McCreary, to Kobe Durant, it just felt like every time it was somebody making a big play. And the biggest way that the Rams were able to hide that is their pass rush getting home whenever they needed it to. And that just didn't happen in this game. Yeah, I give a lot of credit to that Seahawks offensive line for helping protect Sam Darnold in this game. There wasn't really a lot of pressure, and so if you're not getting pressure, you just don't have the guys. And where it really shows up is they just don't have size, and they also don't have speed. And it sounds like I'm really just ragging on the Rams defensive back, so I promise I really don't mean to, but they just don't draft. They don't draft guys or sign guys with high athletic measurables, really. And that showed up in this game. They don't have the arm length to go up against Jake Bobo, boxing him out. The last pass he threw to Cooper Kupp, you get a holding because you can't run with Cooper Kupp. They couldn't run with JSN for most of the game. So it really puts you in a bind when you don't have the length and you don't have the speed to stay with any of these guys.
So I would say their corners are small and their safeties are slow. Their safeties were both 4.6 plus guys coming out of college, and Cam Curl and Cam Kinchins. They are not rangy. They get by on jumping stuff. Well, when you jump when you don't anticipate correctly, then you don't have makeup speed. They don't have makeup speed on the back end, and that I thought really showed throughout this game. But you kind of just got to tip the cap Sam Darnold. Now, he had some throws where he was late. There were some big windows here. He didn't play a perfect game, but there are obviously opportunities for him to make the throw that cost him a game. That's what we kind of were on this program. Was it Thursday or Wednesday last week saying, I trust Stafford to make the play when it matters most more than Darnold. And well, Darnold didn't miss the play when it mattered most, right? He didn't make the big mistake for them to cost them the game. And the Rams did. The Xavier Smith fumbled punt is the difference in this game. They don't fumble that punt. I think this game goes differently, but that ultimately is the difference.
That, and I also think they got a lot more from their run game than I thought they would in this game. Seattle has not been a very good rushing team this season. Just to be quite frank, they've been awful running the football this season. But in this game, it felt like they were able to generate a little bit more. And it's not going to look like it from how you look at like traditional counting stats. I don't think they ran for a big amount when it came to
62 on 19 carries for Kenny Walker. That was like your main guy. So like they didn't do much, but I completely agree with your point here.
Yeah, it felt like when you watch this game play out, it felt like they were able to create explosives, or they were able to create have successful runs. It wasn't always like huge, like big runs, but they finished this game with a negative 0.16 EPA per carry, which isn't there. It's actually near the bottom of their single game rushing outputs, but it still felt like they were able to grind out those yards. And that's what you need when you're not going to be an explosive rushing team. All you got to do is just grind out 4 and 5 yard carries because of how explosive this passing game is.
I thought Kenny Walker was one of the top 3 players on the field in that game. I mean, he played his ass off. And like you said, it wasn't impressive when you go back and look, but 4 catches on 49 yards too. Through the air, he did a lot of work for this team. Was their 3rd leading receiver. It was just when they needed the running game to get going, it was him creating more so than the offensive line in front of them. That was a go get me paid sort of performance there from Kenny Walker.
That was this was, like you said, go get me paid type of performance. And it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't necessarily like the run, like the explosive runs. It was grinding out those carries. It was, the receptions and him being able to turn checkdowns into explosives, turning those 4 catches into 8-10 yard gains, getting those explosives, because that's where a lot of modern defenses want to have you. They can check it down, they rally the tackle, they don't give up 7 yard checkdowns. But Kenneth Walker was able to do that, and I thought that was one of the most impressive things about his game.
Crazy thing now for the Seattle Seahawks team. So they're going to the Super Bowl. They have the 4th most cap space in the NFL this offseason. Now, they have some big name free agents, right? We've talked about them before. Boye Mafe, Kenny Walker, etc. Tariq Woolen. Not like huge paid guys, but like guys they'd like to keep. So it's not all fun and games, but like I can't remember a team in the Super Bowl that is then top 5 in cap space next offseason. It seems like the era we've been just engrossed in this era of all-in teams, right? Where they're spending so much more on like this year in terms of real money than other teams are, that they're not really playing the same game. They're really like pushing it to the limit with all their cap gizmos they can pull to make this year as good as possible. And you just keep doing that. And those are the teams that kind of have trended towards the top. The Seahawks haven't done any of that, right? Like they kind of made some splash moves this offseason, obviously, but this was a draft and develop game plan that hit on the quarterback and then hit on the offense coordinator, like absolute home runs in one off season. And you saw what a world-class coordinator. I thought that was the storyline of the season, was what world-class offensive coordinators can do to turn around franchises. You saw with Jacksonville, we're seeing it now with Seattle.
And it's I thought it was really funny going and looking it up because the two teams in the Super Bowl are also two of the top 10 teams in cap space going into the offseason. We talk about the Patriots, and it sort of feels like that's not necessarily a rebuild for the Seahawks, but it still feels ahead of schedule. Like this wasn't supposed to happen. Sam Darnold wasn't supposed to be the Super Bowl leading. He wasn't supposed to be a Super Bowl quarterback for the Seahawks, especially after trading away Geno Smith, trading away DK Metcalf, and the Seahawks got a lot of crap for that, especially from me. I didn't think that trading away Geno Smith to sign Sam Darnold was the wise decision, but it's incredible faith in your scouting, your evaluation, and then like you said, you hit on the coordinator hire. And once you hit on a good offensive coordinator, I'd also throw in a good defensive coordinator. We'll talk about the defensive coordinators or play callers a lot. It can change a lot of franchises' trajectories.
We'll obviously discuss where Clint Kubiak ends up. If he does decide to leave after the season, I'm sure he'll be very much in demand after the Super Bowl. But I wanted to give a hat tip to John Schneider. Obviously, Seahawks fans hated me at the beginning of the season because I doubted some of the moves. I was dead wrong about it, but I can't remember, and maybe I'm just blanking and not thinking hard enough. I can't remember a GM, I guess, in my life of football. It's not that old. I'm old, but I'm not that old. Who had two separate era Super Bowl appearances. Last Super Bowl was obviously the Malcolm Butler play. We're going to preview it at the end. It was Seahawks Patriots almost a decade ago. So a decade ago with just a completely different team, completely different coaching staff. A decade later, same GM, brand new football team, back to Super Bowl. Is there anyone, am I just blanking on an obvious one that comes to mind, who's done that in the modern football era?
When it comes to making a Super Bowl?
So two different, a GM who's done it with the same team, but two different teams. You know what I'm saying? Because with Belichick, he went to 6, but it was always Brady, right? There were different teams, but they were always the same team. It was kind of an element of the same strain. This is just, he built, this is no holdover from that 2016 team. This is a completely different team altogether, or 2015 team, excuse me.
Could we make the argument for Les Snead? It's not a decade later, but that team felt drastically different.
Okay, yeah. So from 20, gosh, what was that? 18 to
2018 to 2022, 2021.
Yeah, I mean, you still had Aaron Donald holdover. You still had some. I think this is obviously more drastic, but if you do that, I mean, he had the greatest drafting, I think, 3-year run, if I remember correctly, maybe of all time, from I think it was 2010 through 2012 when they got Earl Thomas. They got the whole Legion of Boom. You got Russell Wilson. You got so many Hall of Famers, Pro Bowlers, whatever in that span. If you could do that, you should be a GM for life. And John Schneider, I think, rode his ticket to just that this year with the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, yeah. Real quick, shout out to Matthew Stafford and the Rams, because there was a point in that game where I was like, oh, he's going to do it to him. He's going to do it to him. That I think it was after the muff punt and then touchdown after. There was a 4-play drive where it was the coolest FU drive ever. First play, the over route to Colby Parkinson, where it's just right over Josh Job's finger. Then the second play is the go ball to Devontae Adams. Then the touchdown to Devontae Adams. It was oh my God, man. This dude is going to rip their hearts out once again.
And then going at Tariq Woolen. So I saw the very end of the trash talk clip, which was one of the dumbest things I've seen a guy do. The refs telling you to go away and you just keep going, whatever. But the very end, they Matt Stafford actually confronts him. And I'm oh, he's going right at him on this play. You gave him a free one, you're going right at him. And then very next play, out and up, or a double move to his side with Puka Nacua, just easy money. But he played awesome. I mean, this Rams offense, I got to give a shout out also to Ryan Wendell. I wrote this in to have their offensive line allowed 8 pressures on 38 dropbacks in this game. Stafford was, for the most part, untouched. Now, obviously, he gets the ball out quickly, but they held up so well against a very good Seahawks offensive line. That was a performance deserving of a win, quite frankly. So a lot of good performances for the Los Angeles Rams.
It was, but I also do think, as great as Sean McVay is as a play caller, the game management stuff with Sean McVay is still going to be a problem. I think after the Devontae touchdown, you should have gone for 2. Like, you wouldn't have to be like rushing for a touchdown at the end of the game if you had gone for 2 there. Then on the Cooper Kupp first down towards the end of the game, you burn your final timeout just to not challenge anyway. Like, it just sort of feels like you're just wasting a timeout just to call one, try and get the refs to review it themselves. But if you want to challenge it, just go challenge it. And I still feel like McVay has improved a lot when it comes to going for it in situations. There were moments in this game, the Devin Witherspoon PBU. I thought it was a great decision to go for it, honestly. You're not going to get that chance again, and you trust that defense to go make a play. But it's still going to come down to those moments where you're like, man, we should have gone for 2 here. Or, man, we wish we would have had timeouts at this point. It's just those moments where you're like, dang, I wish Sean McVay had spent more of his XP in that instead of like drawing cool plays.
I do think that Kupp play, though, one amazing effort by Cooper Kupp. I think that was correct. Like, from watching it, I think the guy actually kind of nailed the spot. I think it was right on the line, and I think he got it. So I don't think it would have been overturned regardless. Whew. All right. We're going to take a quick break. Got to get to the AFC Championship game. Coming up right after this.
Critics agree Landman is a hit.
We roll the dice one last time.
Men die. Oil companies don't.
So, funny story about Landman, that commercial I just showed. I get down here. I'm checking in. I'm at Dallas for the Shrine Bowl. We'll do a full breakdown on Thursday show. But I'm getting my rental car for Avis, and it was booked through, obviously, Paramount, our company. And she's like, Paramount, let me guess. You're here for Landman. And I was like, no, I wish. That'd be sick. But no, I'm here for the Shrine Bowl. She's like, what's Shrine Bowl? I'm like, whatever. But I guess Landman, they shoot on location here.
If you would have had a cowboy hat, you could have just said, yeah, I'm here for Landman.
I should have just ran with it. Just be like, yeah, for sure. All right, let's get to Patriots at Broncos in Denver. Patriots sneak one by 10-7. The big number from this, 18. That is the points per game the Patriots have averaged this postseason. It is the fewest by a Super Bowl team since 1979. They win a 10-7 barn burner.
I'm going to get this out the way first, and I know people will not like it. I love that game was in the snow in the second half. No more domes. I'm sorry. We keep trying to make the game sterilize the game from the elements. That's the coolest part of football. Now, I'm not going to go out there and watch the game in the snow. Absolutely not. But it's incredible to watch. And it was incredible to see how the Patriots, who are a very young team, outmaneuver some of the elements that they just haven't played in this season. And I thought that this game was a really fantastic sign of how much, like we said, good coordinators, but how much getting a good head coach can really flip your fortunes. Because Mike Vrabel had his finger on the pulse of that game for all 60 minutes. He never really wavered on his decision-making. And I thought that he, leading up to this game, I thought the Patriots knew who they were and they had an identity and they never wavered from that. And it's going to take them to the Super Bowl in the first year of Mike Vrabel being the head coach and in the second year with their franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, another just absolute turnaround. I mean, the amount of coaching changes we saw be wildly successful this year is probably the most I can remember on record. I mean, to have guys hit this early. And I think everyone knew that Vrabel was going to hit, right? I don't think anyone thought he was going to go back to New England and flop. I thought they knew he was going to at least right the ship. With all that they added this offseason, it was going to be good. But again, kind of like what we said with Seattle, way ahead of schedule. They are in the Super Bowl right now. And for anyone who wants to denigrate their easy path to get here and they can't help it that everyone else in the AFC sucks, right? No one else in the AFC deserved to be here. Everyone else in the AFC sucks.
I also want to push back on that a little bit. If you look at points per drive defensively, the Patriots will have played 4 of the top 10 in this playoff run.
Yeah.
They will have played the Seahawks, who are number
that's why
one.
they have the lowest points per game heading into this.
Exactly. They will have played the Seahawks, who are number one, the Texans, who are number two, the Broncos, who are number three. They will have played the Chargers, who are number 9. Like that's a tough, like, we look at like, oh, this team had to play a weak schedule because of just the offense. No, these are great, like, historic defenses that they are going to play. And I thought that in this game, you could tell that the Patriots were kind of struggling to find their way against this defense until the second half, when they really started to lean back into sort of what Josh McDaniels used to do with the old Brady teams.
And I'll say this, I think the snow quite easily favored the Broncos in this one, in terms of it took the Patriots offense and put it on its knees, right? Like the Patriots couldn't do diddly poo in the snow. At least the Broncos being at home, you get kind of the first mover advantage. You get to use hard counts. Like I think it gives you a little more, especially having a backup quarterback. Like I thought. Now they'll probably use it. Broncos fans obviously use that as an excuse. I used snow as the excuse when the Packers lost to the 49ers in the playoffs a few years back, even though the 49ers never play in snow and the Packers always do. So trust me, I know how it goes. But I do think it probably was advantageous to basically not letting the Patriots passing offense do anything in this game. Drake May goes 10 of 21, 86 yards. They ran the ball 38 times in this game compared to only 21 runs. And my favorite story coming out of this, the final call, Drake May bootleg, was not a called bootleg. That's Drake epic. May just pulling it.
That's epic. And I called it like the play before. I was like, oh, he should run this on third down. They would never see it coming, because it felt a lot like, you know, when I always remember the Peyton Manning like Broncos like touchdown against the Cowboys, where he keeps it on the naked and the camera doesn't follow him. Yep. It felt like an old Manning Brady play where they just keep it on 3rd and 5 and get 6, or 3rd and 4 and get 5. That felt like one of those plays. And it was just really cool to sort of see Josh McDaniels lean into what was going to work in that game. You could tell from the jump, they wanted to try and out physical this Broncos team, because the first drive, they had Thayer Munford on the field, their 6 offensive linemen, and they just ran duo. And in the second half, they realized throwing the ball is not going to get it done in this game. So they just brought out Thayer Munford, they brought out those extra tight ends, and they ran duo, and they forced the Broncos to earn the right to rush the passer by playing the run. So I thought that was a really, really smart game plan by the Patriots in the second half.
I feel like the calling your own number on the bootleg is like it's like a high school movie trope. It's like coach calls, this play, and he's like, what is he doing? And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, it obviously works. But that's kind of stuff you dream about. If you're a kid, you're like, oh, I'm going to pull it. And the last one, Drake May did it. So hat tip to him. Incredible play. And hat tip to the Patriots defense. Obviously, we said the offense hasn't done much. Well, they haven't needed to do much, right? They have been annihilating teams. And this one, you say it's Jarrett Stidham. Sure, obviously it's backup quarterback, but they scored as many points as Jarrett Stidham did in this game. Yes, it took Drake May running one in after the fumble, but they got that fumble. That should have been a touchdown. The refs shouldn't have blown it dead. And so yet another game with a defensive score for the New England Patriots.
And even within that, I actually thought Zach Core, the defensive coordinator for the Patriots, called a good game after the first touchdown that they gave up, where it was actually a very, very good play call by Sean Payton, and Jarrett Stidham put it on the money. After that, they were like, okay, we're not playing zone anymore. We're not going to play zone, and we're not going to just try and win with 4. We're going to try and speed them up, because a lot of what was happening in that game was Jarrett Stidham was having to do a lot of drop back stuff. And I think that was one of my biggest things with Sean Payton in this game is he had Jarrett Stidham do a lot of just standard drop back stuff, and far too much for a backup quarterback in the AFC Championship. Like, I understand, it's the moment, but I also just think, give him a little bit of easy stuff. They tried setting up screens. That wasn't going to work. That was there were plays where I think the Patriots were just jumping all the screens. And at that point, it was sort of like, man, you don't know really what else you can do. But hats off to this Patriots defense who has found, again, they found their identity late in the season, and it's worked out for them.
Whew. I want to double click real quick onto the fumble because I thought it was interesting. Because some Broncos fans were upset about it. And I think it's a very close call because there's a rule in the rule book that says if you are starting a forward pass and you are hit during it and the ball ends up going backwards, which I think there's, if you slow it down, it's like, that looks like close to be what happened in this play, that it is actually still considered a forward pass and it should be incomplete. There's the caveat, though, that if the contact occurs before the motion begins, then it's not a forward pass, it's a fumble. But what I think they actually may have ruled in this game, because they weren't super clear about it, because they obviously didn't have to be, they ended up saying just review as a fumble, was that I think they didn't think it was an attempted forward pass at all. I think they said he knocked it out of his hands before he even attempted to throw a forward pass, which I actually think is wrong. I actually think that's the wrong interpretation here. I think he was trying to throw a forward pass. I think quite clearly that was his intent, but he was actually contacted prior to throwing it. So I think it's the right result, but I think they actually officiated it incorrectly still.
I think the easiest way we can solve this is by banning the two-hand chest pass for quarterbacks. No more. No more. You should have to take a sack. Because Jarrett Stidham did that again later in the game. And I'm like, that's not fair. All right. You can't two-hand chest pass the ball. Like none of that. You should lose it. You should lose it down. You want to chest pass the ball? We're done here.
100%, because then it would also ban the pop pass, which is the grossest stat padding method ever. It's disgusting. Anytime I see a pop pass, I'm just like, oh, I still remember that one game. So when I worked at PFF, Patrick Mahomes had a game where he had like 5 touchdown passes, but like 3 of them were pop passes. And people were like, we didn't give him like the highest grade or whatever. And people were like, upset about the grade he got. And it was like, did you see half his touchdown passes? They were like literally pop passes. So ban the pop pass. It's not a pass. Call it handoff and don't allow it to be, guy does it at the feet of his running back, essential grounding. That's not a pass. A pass it should have to like have some, I don't know how you legislate it though, in terms of what constitutes a pass.
The ball should have to go into the air. The ball should have to go like up into the air.
Okay. I agree with that. I'm fine with that.
It sort of makes the spike weird.
Mm-hmm.
But
so that's already like its own caveat. We already have a caveat for the spike. So we're fine with that. For the spike,
but no more chest passing.
Disgusting. All right. Well, it just sucks though for the Broncos that, hey, you kind of sealed your fate when Bo Nix wasn't going to play. Do we give any credence to the rumors that Bo Nix actually hurt his ankle in some other way, shape, or form, but that they won't tell anyone that because it would be obviously embarrassing?
No, I think if that really was like the issue, if he had hurt his ankle and like broken his ankle at any point before in the game, I feel like him saying he broke his ankle on the second to last play is a lot less cool than saying he broke his ankle in like the third quarter and kept playing.
Well, no, the rumor is that it was in the locker room after the game is what people are claiming online that I've seen. Now, not credible, but that it happened after and that he went to the podium and said, it happened during and like one of the last plays, because obviously you're not going to want to put him on blast for it happening after, but like that was the rumor I saw. I obviously pure rumor.
I think that's a hilarious rumor. I'm not going to buy on that one.
I do think it is the most curious injury and injury timing I can remember for like I remember when Phillip Rivers tore his ACL, but like that was obvious. Like he tore his ACL, played the next week. It didn't go well in the playoffs. But like this one, you at no point saw any, there's one where like glances down at his foot, but it's like when a guy breaks his ankle, every broken ankle that I've seen in my time doing this, right? Like, so that's why I think the conspiracy theories and the rumors spread, because it is so unusual, but we'll probably never know. Feel for Broncos fans. All right, we're going to take a quick break. After that, we're going to do a little Super Bowl preview and get out of here.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
It's Seahawks Patriots rematch of Super Bowl 49, the Malcolm Butler Super Bowl, way back 2014. I'm not salty about it, but Brandon Bostic catch the goddamn onside kick. And that never would have happened. We Russell Wilson wouldn't have to talk about it. Marshawn Lynch wouldn't have to talk about it. Pete Carroll wouldn't have to talk about it if Brandon Bostic would have just caught the onside kick. Again, I'm not salty about it. What do we see this one? Let me look up what the line's going to be in this one and give me a breakdown here.
I feel like this game is going to lean towards just Seattle just beats the crap out of New England up front. Like it's such a struggle to play the Seattle defense, because again, you have to beat the Seahawks defense, you have to be willing to throw the ball into tight windows, which Drake May can, but you also have to force them to respect your run game. That's why Stafford and the Rams are able to give the Seahawks so many problems, is on top of Matthew Stafford being mind-numbingly good at throwing into tight windows. They can grind out 5-6 yard runs when they go to light boxes and force them to play the chess match with them. Will the Patriots be able to do that? I don't know if they're going to be able to do that by adding guys onto the field, which is what they like to do. If they want to try and mash teams, they get Thayer Mumford on the field, they try and add 2 tight ends, and they try and run duo at them. But I just don't know if they're going to be able to do that. So it's going to have to be on not only Drake May as a tight window passer, but Drake May as a scrambler in this game is going to have to be huge, because that's the one thing when you think about Brock Purdy and some of the other quarterbacks that have sort of given, like the non-Stafford quarterbacks that have given the Seahawks struggles, they are able to scramble. And if you're going to play all the match coverage that Seattle does, you got to try and scramble.
The line opened at 3.5. It's already moved to 4.5 at some places. Obviously, going Seattle's way. 46.5 is the over-under. Fairly high, but obviously Super Bowls tend to trend upwards. I think also, though, yes, the Seahawks, I think, are going to dominate the Patriots offensive line. I don't think the Seahawks interior offensive line, though, is going to be able to hold up to Christian Barmore, Milton Williams, Corey Durden. I mean, especially Anthony Bradford. He's struggled with speed guys all year long, and that's all you're facing. When you face the Patriots, you're just facing quicks all day long. The play Barmore had on Quinn Miners in that game today was just stupid stuff. They are, that DT trio is tough to block up. So I do think, though, the Seahawks create more offense. I don't want to say outside of their offensive line, but like their play action game is just so filthy. It's just like, it's so varied. It's so just difficult to stop. And you saw in the last play, it's what got them that first down, throwing in a play action and getting the hold on Cooper Kupp. So I do think that they have ways to create offense that don't necessarily revolve around needing their offensive line to hold up forever.
I also think that in this game, I actually think the Patriots defensive backs stand a much better chance than the Rams do, because they have the speed and the length to give JSN at least a little bit of resistance. They have the speed to run with Rashid Shaheed. They have the length. They have the ability with Marcus Jones in the slot. I do think they have the ability to cause problems there. I'm curious if Robert Spillane plays a lot. He did leave the Broncos game due to injury. If Spillane doesn't come back, you lose a little bit of your teeth when it comes to running the run defense, when it comes to blitzing. I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots go into this game seeing like, look, we're way ahead of schedule. Let's just throw all our cards at the table. Let's blitz and see if we can force him to make some mistakes, because that's the one thing the Rams didn't do in this game that I thought they'd do more of, is force Sam Darnold to speed up his timing, speed up his clock. So if you can speed him up a little bit, I do think the Patriots are more willing to live in that. Screw it. Like, let's go. Let's play the chaos game.
Sam Darnold, as everyone predicted, the first quarterback from the 2018 NFL draft to be playing in the Super Bowl. No, not Josh Allen.
I do think it is a little bit, it sucks for everybody else, but especially the Bills, that the Patriots lost Tom Brady in 2020, spent 5 years in the wilderness, and went right back to the Super Bowl. Like, that's just, it's not fair. It's not fair at all. And even with they went to the playoffs with Mac Jones and nobody took them seriously for good reason. It took the Patriots saw Tom Brady leave, saw Tom Brady win a Super Bowl with somebody else, drafted a quarterback in the first round, got rid of said quarterback, drafted another quarterback in the first round, and now they're going to the Super Bowl with that franchise quarterback, all before the Bills got to the Super Bowl. It's even all before the Dolphins playoff game.
Oh, wow. The Dolphins are out in the wilderness themselves. Let's be real. I don't know if they're ever getting back. But, yeah, the Bills fans, it's tough. It's tough life. I feel for them. And, gosh, if the Patriots win this, Buffalo might burn. They are going
evil
to.
Empire. I was really hoping. I said on the show, our preview last week, that I thought the Rams would win. But Chris Fanini of The Athletic put out a tweet that said, second-year Patriots quarterback going to the Super Bowl to face an NFC West team that nobody gives them a chance of beating. I think we've seen how this one played out. They played the Rams in that Super Bowl. So I was like, God, do not let history repeat itself. I need the Seahawks to stop the rise of the evil empire before it happens.
Dude, that would have been – I mean, the parallels there would have been so crazy because, I mean, you had Warner on that team. Like, that offense was unstoppable. Number one offense. This is – Rams were the number one scoring offense, I believe, this year. Like, that would have been – whew. Well, we'll see. It's gonna get broken down from every which angle over the next 2 weeks. You guys get sick of it. I always do. But I always get sick of it like the Thursday before. I'm like, okay, I think we've hit it too much. I always want to talk draft by that point. But we will be talking draft on Thursday. We're doing a full Shrine Bowl breakdown, full Senior Bowl breakdown. Who stood out? Who's playing well? Senior Bowl practices this week. Have you seen the time on them?
No. Are they?
They're starting at 1:30 p.m.
They moved them back?
1:30 to 6 they go.
Oh, God.
So we'll do a Thursday morning pod. I'll hopefully be seeing you there. I'm scheduled to have an 8 a.m. flight tomorrow. I'm in Dallas. Dallas has snow on all their highways still. We'll take it slow, but hopefully we get to the airport. Hopefully we get out. So until then, really appreciate you guys tuning in. Keep pushing.